When it comes to 2D fighters, Guilty Gear may not be the first that jumps to mind, and even though the first Guilty Gear was made decades ago, it has always found its home somewhere in between fandom and true fighting game lovers, and for the rest, it probably remained a mystery until now. With Guilty Gear Strive, the developers at Arc System Works have pushed the envelope to make one of the best fighting games of this generation, with stunning visuals, great gameplay, stellar netcode, and a soundtrack that will make you feel like you're truly in the midst of battle, and all of this in a complete package that feels polished even before launch. My name is Jacqie, and this is my review of Guilty Gear Strive. Guilty Gear is a series of fighting games all developed under the roof of Arc System Works, with the first Guilty Gear being released in 1998, and since then has spawned many sequels and spin-offs. And even with all of this backstory and history, Guilty Gear has always remained somewhat of a niche until today. Guilty Gear Strive pushes to be the best, and it's clear to see with the stunning visuals, as they have found a way to combine 3D models in such a way that it remains true to the original anime style, and remain as close to a 2D world as possible in what people call a 2.5D world, making it the best looking 2D fighter today. It is easy to see from the first matchup that this is no ordinary visual representation, and all the small things from the detail in the scenery, adding some depth to the scene, and text being overlaid all create different layers, while the rays of light bouncing off the characters all combine to make a brilliant visual delivery ready for the next generation. Since its release in 1998, the series has gained a ton of backstory, and it's easy to see from the seemingly endless encyclopedia of lore, timeline of events, and even a correlation chart, which can all be used to either refresh your memory or to learn how everybody fits into the series and what they've been through to finally reach this point in Strive. This will be more important than you think, as the story mode is aimed at people who are familiar with the Guilty Gear franchise, and to enjoy the story mode to its fullest, you may need to watch a few videos to either familiarize yourself with the lore or to serve as a reminder, as after that, the 4 to 5 hour anime style story mode is absolutely great and is definitely one of the best parts for me of the game. Now, even though the story is around 5 hours long, it can be watched in chapters, making it easy to watch pieces at a time or to binge over the weekend if you have the time. Even though there is no playable parts in the story, I have to applaud the creators, as they were able to tell the story the way they wanted to without having to force in any fight sequences that could have taken away from the overall story, and that is a good choice for the game, as after catching up on the lore, I absolutely loved the story mode, as I never had to wait ready for that next fight. I could just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. When it comes to the gameplay, Guilty Gear Strive was a complete core rebuild, with some recognizable features rebooted with the help of their years of experience and the feedback from all the players, and the results are amazing. The damage index has been reduced and the mechanics have changed from a Gatling system where you could button mash for low damage combos to a more strategic combo system that will deal more damage if you use your riskier combos. Even though the characters felt heavy and sluggish, the pace of combat was high, and with moves like dash and counters, kept the action flowing at a fast pace even when playing against the computer. Guilty Gear strive to make the game easier to get into for all players with the new mechanics, and I feel they definitely succeeded, as it didn't take me all too long thanks to the mission section to learn the mechanics and the combos, and even though at some points the missions section felt bloated with a lot of useless moves and combos, it definitely had great sections down the line to teach you all the more advanced tactics and even counters to certain moves, which made me wish for a section like this not only back in the day with other fighting games, but for most games in general. Even though a lot of changes have gone into the gameplay, a few features remain the same, or at least similar, and one of those are the signature Roman cancels that use half of your tension meter by pressing 3 attack buttons at the same time to block almost any attack, but with that the added feature of throwing your opponent in the air, briefly slowing time, allowing you to either follow up with a counter in sticky situations, or simply to be used in a new way to create some interesting tactics. Guilty Gear also has multi-layered levels that can be accessed by either knocking opponents into the side wall with a flurry of combos until you eventually break through, or with some characters you can also knock their opponents through to the next part of the map by simply using their overdrive ability close enough to the side walls to actually knock them through. Now, one thing to keep in mind if you actually want to do this to your opponents is that not all characters and not all overdrives actually have the ability to knock your opponent onto the next side, so bear that in mind and actually have a look at your characters before you go into your match. Guilty Gear boasts with a 15 character lineup, and even though this does not seem like a lot, because of all of their different playstyles and varying complexity levels, it really made the roster feel a lot bigger than it is, and never left me feeling like I needed another character to play with. With a 15 character roster, there are a bunch of returning favorites, as well as 2 completely new characters, namely Nagoriyuki and Giovanna. Now, Nagoriyuki to me felt hulkish in nature, as he is a slow moving character off the bat, but as soon as you learn to play with him, you soon realize that he is much more balanced, but requires a little bit more work to master, while Giovanna felt like the complete opposite with fast-paced attacks, the ability to get into your opponent's personal space and stay there. She made me feel right at home, had easy to use combos that when used correctly deals a ton of damage, making her perfect for more casual gamers or people who are new to the series. Guilty Gear also has an amazing soundtrack, and if different tracks are what you're looking for, there is a fishing minigame where you can go and use in-game currency to fish for items that can range from customizable options for your online avatar, different soundtracks, and even art. And even though this is a good way of unlocking more content, I never found myself spending more time than I needed at the fishing minigame, and for me, that felt like somewhat of a waste. The 8-bit design of the fishing minigame, your avatar customization, and the online lobby at first is fun and quirky, but can easily become tiring, especially since you always appear in this form in the online lobby. Apart from that, the online lobby is amazing, and Guilty Gear has mastered the netcode with Strive, as I was able to play even long distance matches without a hitch, but this feature remains to be tested as soon as the game launches, as then the influx of players could diminish the results, but hopefully that is not the case. In conclusion, Guilty Gear has pushed the envelope for 2D fighters and has definitely made its mark as one of the premium fighter games for this generation, and that is no longer just for the niche fans, but for all to appreciate and enjoy. The game overall felt complete and left me with little to desire, from the minigames to the amazing soundtrack and most importantly the stunning visuals, all combined with the roster lineup makes Guilty Gear Strive for me one of the best up and coming 2D fighters, and definitely one to keep an eye out for. And for all of the above mentioned reasons, Guilty Gear Strive receives a 9 out of 10 in my books, and for more game reviews, keep your eyes on the channel. Until next time, cheers.